I just saw Jordan Peterson's latest video. Doctors, psychotherapists, liars and butchers. Trans kids, trans activism, trans medicine. And he opens with a metaphor of child sacrifice. And he doesn't labor it, but it frames the entire video, short video, which appears to be an angry hot take after reading an article. I'm not dismissing the guy. I'm actually I'm kind of an expert in him. I was a big follower of Jordan Peterson before his infamy. And I even appreciated him as he entered the culture war. But somewhere along the line, I think he went a bit crazy attacking his dragon. It's weird because, 90% of his basic framing, I actually don't have a problem with. But it's his tone, and there's 10% of what he says that I think is wrong, or maybe it's a more important level, because I think this is a more organic issue than he acknowledges, and I don't think he has a genuine appreciation of postmodernity. Like, some of his criticism is a bit reified. It's getting a bit infantile. Like, his language around this is really simplistic and rigid around postmodernity. And in a sense, trans is the ultimate postmodern identity. And it is a hugely diverse identity. I mean, all identities are. No single identity has one value system or one metaphysics. However much, you can generalize a bit, but I really don't think this is a top-down phenomenon. I think people generally think things are way more top-down than they are. I think the things that come down at us from institutions come down at us from those heights because it's arisen organically in people's hearts, in the world and in those institutions. I've said this before. But yeah, look, Jordan Peterson, it's just red meat to extremists to me. Like, it's maybe I shouldn't even say extremists, but to both sides of this. I feel like his opponents, he's doing them as much good as he's doing to his allies. And I presume he's not unconscious of this. I presume that he's made a decision that he knows he's going to alienate a lot of people with his manner, but it's too important and he feels close enough to the truth that he's going to be doing more good than bad. But I'm just not sure. I think on the trans issue, and even on a lot of the left-right issues, but certainly on the trans issue, I don't think he's doing more good than bad. I think that the good that he does in the world is probably more connected with his therapeutic work and, his maps of meaning and that kind of thing. I think Vlad Vexler was on the money when he critiqued Carefree Wandering's critique of Jordan Peterson by saying Jordan Peterson just misses the problem of the modern individual. Like, in defending the system and in defending order, he doesn't actually appreciate what is so atomizing about high modernity, about electromagnetism, about this moment, right? I don't know what word to use it. Postmodernity is it getting a little bit too, you don't want to use too much jargon. You don't want to rest in one word with these complex ideas because it actually closes up your mind. But I guess postmodernity is the word we've got. But it's just the way that what strikes me as ironic is that and it was just the way he framed it at the beginning with child sacrifice, because I get it. Like, I do get it. Like, there is a sense in which this is metaphysically appropriate, even insightful, but to invoke virtually demonic symbolism for an identity is really tricky. It's really tricky. Like, even granted that he's talking about this in terms of psychological complexes and at institutional levels, he's not really aiming for individuals. But people are individuals and they interact with ideas insofar as they identify with them. And, Not many people can distinguish between their own identities and the values they have, but not many people can distinguish between what they are and their ideas, their values. And so, being as powerful as he is, and speaking with such anger and fear and judgment, and being so connected to the right, to conservatism and the system itself, there is no chance that any sensitive person who's sympathetic to trans people is going to hear his words and not just see Jupiter eating his children. Because this is Jordan Peterson's energy, right? He is Jupiter. He is channeling Jupiter. And he has aspects of the good father just as he tries to channel. But in the culture, he has a divine power. He is, as John Vervaeke said, he's like a god at a cultural level. And so when he speaks, his voice is like booming. And almost nobody can hear what he's really saying, right? Like I really think this, it's like, he is a very intelligent man, right? I am not sneering at the guy who is far greater than I am. But we can all see other people, particularly, when they're raised so high. I've got a good view of him, particularly as I've watched him for a long time. I haven't watched any of his videos for a long time, but the algorithm tend to be that one. I think the work that he's doing today on non-political stuff is interesting and really good. But I think his political work is just, I think he's making things worse. I think he's feeding the culture war. I think he's a war maker. And I know that he's sincere and he's just trying to do tough love, but it just makes me really sad, I guess. Because there's something about trans identity that's really much deeper, and it's much more connected to the loss of meaning in our culture and the loss of direct communication. I mean, the internet means you don't even need a body to communicate. It's allowed people to experiment literally and unconsciously with all kinds of deep transhumanistic ideas. And I am very wary of transhumanism. I feel like culture has defeated humanity and now rules. I think humans don't produce culture anymore. I feel like culture is now producing humans. But I don't feel like Jordan Peterson is actually free of the ideological demons that he is accusing other people. And I'm not saying that he's wrong exactly even. I'm just saying he's a pretty bad hypocrite, he's quite neurotic himself. He's got a very strong feminine side that he hasn't integrated fully effectively, and that's why that he has this over-aggressive tendency, because that's how he deals with his anxiety. He just pushes through it, keeps his momentum. And his intellect isn't like John Vervaeke's. It doesn't flow into his body, right? He's not actually present in a way. It's up all here. I can see my own kind. I've lived that Apollonian fantasy, and it's powerful. But, I guess what I'm trying to say in my ambitious way is that I'm not sure that he is the man for the job that he thinks, because I don't think that he is worshipping the one true God that he believes. I think he's a pagan and he's worshipping Apollo. And that's why these Dionysian pagans drive him mad. Because it's all this projection game. It's all this game of hide and seek that the universe plays with itself. Perhaps it's just my vanity.